Hello, welcome back to the Divergent AVE podcast. I'm your host, Selena Thompson, and today I was just going to jump on for a little solo session. I really love to have guests, but then I also used to do a lot of solo episodes back in season 1. I really wanted to get back into them, and I just thought, okay, what is something that I've really learned the hard way, of course, that I can maybe try and enlighten or help or share what has helped me. I wanted to talk about a theme that is relevant at the moment because I feel like that's always the easiest way to talk about things organically. So I was going to talk about injustice sensitivity or choosing the right fight. Because I don't know about you, but I know with me personally and with a lot of other ADHD people, neurodivergent, whatever you want to call it, we will jump into any fight, usually an underdog fight. If it's an easy fight, I don't really want to fight. Does that make sense? But it's almost like I just love the smell of, just like an underdog fight in the morning. I just used to kind of associate it with you just like to right the wrongs and fight injustices. But when I learned more about it, it's actually not just me. I'm not just special. It's a real trait in neurodivergence more often than not. And it really comes down to, and it's tied in with emotional regulation or lack thereof. Also, what I don't like to admit, but which is true, is dopamine seeking. Like, when you just kind of start, not that I have a boyfriend, but when you have a boyfriend and like you just want to like start a fight because you're bored, you know what I'm talking about, eh? Like not like a massive end of a relationship. Like you just want to get in a fight and then it can be over. The people that I'm speaking to will understand what I mean. Like you get this adrenaline rush. I know we are so messed up, right? Because we say we don't want the drama finds us. But when there is the drama, we'll kind of encourage the drama. Anyway, I've learned so much about this side of me. And I feel that I may be able to share some wisdom. I mean, that's all I'm here to do really, is just go through fucking after fucking and trauma after trauma in my life and then eventually share and hope that it helps other people. So anyway, I used to be a person that would just jump into any fight, just unregulated. It was always kind of a fight where someone needed help and they were maybe battling a system or battling kind of like the David and Goliath. I don't like bullies. Let's put it that way. I don't like bullies. I never have. I never will. I think I'm at an age now where I can gladly take on any bully. I don't care who it is. When I was a kid, that was obviously a different story. I was the whole undiagnosed shy, invisible mute at school that couldn't string a sentence together and was just trying to be a good girl. Now I'm like, I'm a bad girl. I always will be. But I feel like it's for the greater good. Does that make sense? So I have really learned a lot because I just spent my whole time just fighting people. Not as in like physically. Have I? No, I haven't physically fought anyone. But I mean in terms of just like that, like as per my email, you would understand as per my email. One of those. And I also think it ties into being a lawyer and just having this kind of insane ability to really just murder someone with words intellectually. It's a dangerous combination. But what I've learned the hard way and what I feel like I've actually mastered, and I'm really proud to say that I've mastered it. I never thought I would, but I'm really in a place now where I choose the right fight for me. There's always going to be conflict in life, always. You can't run away from it. There's always going to be conflict. But what I have realized is that I carefully choose and carefully assess what conflict I'm going to insert myself into, And that was just through a lot of learning the hard way. I am a person that, I'll be out living my life, daily life, and something will happen and I'll kind of draw like deep meaning from it. I just have a very active imagination and I draw wisdom and I draw like meanings and lessons from a situation that I'm in. So, for example, this is actually what flipped my mind. And it can come out of nowhere. I don't know why. Something inside me will click and I feel like that was a lesson. So going back, and I'll just quickly touch base on why this was an issue for me that I felt like I had to get involved in. But I was driving along on the North Shore, about 2 cars ahead of me, there was a car kind of swerving, and I was like, what's this dickhead doing, So I like pull out because I'm like, what are you doing? Like, wow, interesting excitement. What's happening? Anyway, I realized that the car was actually trying to slow the cars down behind them because, God forbid, there was these ducklings and duck crossing the main highway. You know those scenes? I mean, I've seen some near misses in my day, but it was that whole thing of a car crash where you can't look away, and the car right behind it, the height just like pulled out and just like gassed it. And I watched in horror. Oh, I just can't. I'm really, really sensitive to animals being killed. Oh, like people too. But I mean, I haven't seen that in real life. But I mean, it's horrible, right? Anyone that's, whether you're highly sensitive or not, if you've got some kind of heart, like it's actually quite an unsavory scene. So anyway, I burst out crying. I'm alone in the car, I'm just thinking, whoa, 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 whoa. The other cars started kind of coming past me and then driving past. And I'm like, what is wrong with this world? Because a duckling has just died. The rest of the family are trying to get across the road. And I saw this person get out of their car and they were trying to help the rest of the remaining surviving ducklings get across the road. And I remember recognizing that number plate. I'm like, that's like, I've seen that somewhere. And no joke, I pull up to the side and it is Sarah, who was the owner of the Airbnb that I lived in for nearly 3 months. I put the window down, I'm like, Sarah. We both were so distressed. So she had been the one that had been trying to stop the car from running over the duckling. Everyone else went about their day going to work. I thought this was quite an important issue. So did she. I was holding up the on-ramp, so I had to go. Called her. We talked to each other through it. She checked he was gone or she was gone. It was very quick. We discussed about how there wouldn't have been much pain. It was at least the rest of them got saved. Like, this is what we went through. So anyway, obviously I had duckling death trauma after that, like it really sits with you. And then, no joke, probably about 3 weeks later, I was in Long Bay Park. So there's the playground and there's the beach up in Auckland on the North Shore. And, single mum. So I take my kids out as a single mum. It was really busy. It was really packed because it was before Christmas, summer, and they love that place. Anyway, there was a mother duck right by the playground and she was surrounded by all these ducklings. And I just was like, don't do this to me. I can't see another duckling trauma. And it's just the PTSD. Next minute, this 13 or 11-year-old child comes up and they're trying to pick up on the ducklings. The mother duck is like attacking, like saying like, fuck off, don't touch my child. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, where's the mother or where's the parent of this thing that's letting this happen? And I realized that the owner was sitting behind me there was about, I want to say like 8 to 10, lick it up South Africans. And I'm just saying South Africans only purely because, they get a bit bolshy. Like, good. I'm proud of you guys, but I don't like it when it's directed at me. So anyway, I was watching this. The mother gets up of the daughter, goes over, and I thought, oh gosh, she's intervening. Thank God. Because the whole time I'm looking around, and this happens to me often. I don't know about you, but I look around and I'm like, is anyone just seeing what I'm seeing right now? Is anyone feeling it? And I always get the feeling people see it and they look away. It's that whole bystander effect. The more people there are in a crowd, the more powerful the bystander effect will be. So basically it's almost not your responsibility. Like, someone will intervene, but then everyone's thinking that, so no one intervenes. So the more people there are, the less likely someone is actually going to jump in. It's psychology, it's a fact. So anyway, the mother gets up and I'm like, oh, she's going to save this, Anyway, the mother and the daughter start both trying to pick up these ducklings. What then ensued was the mother duck and her ducklings just gapping it towards the car park. Lots of cars going past, and I just was sitting there. And on any other occasion, actually on a normal occasion, I would have just been on. I would have been like, what the hell are you doing? I would have intervened. But I was suddenly like took stock of where I was. There were so many people there that obviously didn't want to get involved. There were liquored up, stupid assholes behind me that thought it was funny. And I'm there with my kids who've been through enough. And it was this real moment of, I wasn't a pussy to intervene. It was just like, if I intervene, I will get my ass whooped, or they'll frighten my children and that will traumatize my children. And it was the most horrendous conflict of interest. I'm never afraid to jump in. I don't care what anyone thinks of me. If it's the right thing, I will jump in. But I'm going to put my kids at risk and myself at risk. So I honestly had to make the call, and I had to choose my family and me. Like, granted, like, side note, some people do not go through this processing and they're selfish and they're like, fuck the ducks. Fuck the ducks. No, I think about the ducks. I had to make the call and I had to walk away. And anyway, I was really thinking about it. It was almost like, oh my gosh, this lesson to me that I took away from it, which, take from it what you want. I do. It was almost this, you can't save everyone. You can't intervene just because it's the right thing to do and you see an injustice, because how is it going to affect you personally? And is it going to be detrimental to you? Because at the end of the day, you really do have to protect you and your own. And it was really hard for someone like me who's really empathic and really not afraid to take on anyone. But it was obviously there's a weight issue. I was a completely different weight class than all these people. It really wouldn't have gone down well. I didn't have backup, and my children didn't need that. So I kind of really thought about it after that, and I realized that I have spent so much time jumping into fights and battles because of the principle, or just because it was, the wrong thing and no one else was standing up for, whoever. And it's just like, but I actually don't protect myself enough. And it was almost this thing of, you've got to just realize that you can't save every motherfucking duckling. And you get to a point where you just got to look after yourself. And I know that people pleasers, or the former people pleasers, will know exactly what I'm talking about. It's hard when you have been so hardwired just to always help and always care. So anyway, with that in mind, that kind of idea grew in me, like inception. But I really took stock and realized that I have wasted so much time and energy fighting other people's battles that either weren't mine, made no difference to me, actually made my life harder. It took energy and attention away from things that were more beneficial. So when I really thought about it, especially when you're going through, co-parenting and separation, there's always going to be conflict. It doesn't matter like how good terms, bad terms, there's conflict there. There's always going to be conflict. And I really realized that most of my life was wrapped up in a conflict just because it was the wrong thing and someone needed to stand up for someone else. Or, I've got so many examples of things where I've jumped into to help someone that had nothing to do with me, but only because I had the skills to help them. And I do love helping people, and it's not about that at all. I don't regret it, but I think about other areas of my life that I neglected, like maybe fucking eating or taking a shower, or, doing my own stuff, putting that aside, because I would be so emotionally dysregulated. And that's when I realized, like, it is emotional dysregulation. It's you get so fired up because you don't like bullshit. You don't like people that are fake. You don't like people that do the wrong thing and hurt people. And I think we all protect each other in a way because we hate judgmental people because we know what it's like to be judged ourselves. So I think that's why a lot of us get really incensed, and then it becomes the principle. But it's always a dangerous thing when the mindset is it's about the principle. That's when things don't end well, if that's going to be your driving force. So an example of this is the school that my daughter's at. It used to be the system. I did change that. It used to be the system that, there was an email that would go out. You never knew what day, what time, and it was to enroll your kids in the school activities. But what would happen is if you didn't move fast enough, you'd miss out, and that's that. And a lot of these activities, if you didn't do them in term one, then, you can't start later in the year. It was really effed up. And so anyway, this would have been year one So this is 2 years ago. I've been fighting freedom ever since. But it was, 2 years ago. I was new to this bullshit. I really was. I just didn't understand. And the email went out, luckily Fridays are my fuck around Friday days. And so I had no problem doing it. But I had a friend who works full time on a Friday. And she was in such a fluster because she didn't get to it until about 7 p.m. and she had missed out because most of the activities were already full. And so the ones left over are like the ones that you don't even no kid wants to do. And I was really annoyed because she was upset. She was just kicking herself. And I'm like, you shouldn't be. You're bloody working. And so then anyway, even though it hadn't affected me, I decided that because I'm fiery and I don't give a fuck, this is wrong. And I think that it really disadvantages the working mothers or working parents in this school. Because unless you're sitting there twiddling your damn thumbs, waiting for an email, which you don't know what day or time, you're going to miss out. So anyway, after some really, really lovely back and forth with the powers that be, they have changed the system. They tell you the date, they tell you the time that the email is coming out, and then you can choose an option. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And so your kid is going to get into one of them. So, I mean, I don't want to say that I was the main driving force, but I think I kind of was. But anyway, I spent so much energy in that, not too much, but I got really incensed and really enraged. And when I think about it, I'm glad I did it. I don't regret it. But there have been a lot of other occasions where I've just spent so much energy and I'll just legal lawyer the shit out of it. And try me with your passive aggressive emails back. I'm going to outsmart you because you can't argue with me. And that's awesome. But as we know, we barely have enough time to get the basic stuff done. So when your energy is so wrapped up fighting some injustice or proving a point or getting into an argument or over-explaining yourself, you realize how much that detracts, just not physically, but mentally. You can't get your brain and just switch tabs. And so now when I took stock of that, I have these kind of little things that I go through just mentally in my head before I decide to get involved in a fight. I now have what I would consider a pre-fight checklist. Yeah, like a pre-flight checklist, but a pre-fight checklist. I kind of go through these things. So anyway, I just thought I would share these because if you're a hobby freedom fighter, it's about the principle, you're a dog with a bone, you won't give up, you spend all this energy, mostly battling a neurotypical system. And, usually the replies are, well, that's the rules because that's the rules, because that's the rules and that's the rules. Don't get me started on that. Anyway, I just thought I would share what I go through now because it has made my life a hell of a lot more easier and peaceful. And it's not backing down. It's just choosing the right fight for you, just choose the right one. So I thought I would just tell you what I have invented in my head. When a potential conflict lands in my lap, I always go through, first of all, okay, what am I going to get out of this? What is my gain out of this? Am I going to have some gain, or is this just going to be a sap and a drain on my energy that I'm not going to get anything out of? You've got to be a bit selfish. I know it's really hard for us, but you've got to. Second of all, I think about the degree of how much the issue is going to upset me in terms of, is this going to turn into sleepless nights? Is this going to turn into a rabbit hole obsession? Is this going to take me away from all the things that I really should be doing because, I have problems with that enough? I think of the degree of how upsetting and how distracting this would be for me. The next thing I do is I think about, if it's not for myself and if someone's come to me, I think, who is asking for the help? I actually assess who wants it, because what I've realized is, when you do have a skill, I am proud to say I am pretty skilled at fighting the good fight, but in such a way that they don't realize it. I really have to be like, okay, who are you to me? Are you important? Do I love you? Are you special? Are you one of the people that I would fight for? I have an example of a dear friend, and I helped draft an email to his psychiatrist because he was just ill-advised, put on wrong medication. it was something that really impacted him negatively, and to see him have the life drained out of him and turn into a shell of himself and just feel so helpless against the professionals, that was important to me. That's important to me because I love someone, I want to protect them, and if I can, I will. It didn't take me long. It was actually really easy. I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. And it worked. 2 days later, appointment switched, not going to mess with him, And like that to me is something that I've got no issues getting involved with, because if it's someone special to me, like 100% I'll do it. Sorry, had a little intermission, had to get my daughter off the bus. So back to the pre-fight checklist that goes through my head. What I was saying before is that I really consider who I'm fighting for. So obviously if it's me or the kids or family, that's just an obvious. But when I'm talking about other people in the outer circles, I really consider, well, who are you to me? Are you in the close circle? Have you just come out of the woodwork because now, things are going good for me and now you want some piece of me? It's like, well, that could probably go to the bottom. I then also think about, does the fight or does the outcome align with my values? So if someone came to me and they just wanted to be a bitch and just get into like some stupid mean girl bitch fight, that's just like, no, that doesn't align with me. Or, even if it was just for someone I love, but I really didn't agree with it, I would consider that, what is the outcome meant to be? And does it align with what my values are? The other thing I think of is, and this is a really big one, I think this is actually a really important one, and that is the person that I'm going to get into a fight with, are they someone that I will need in the future? And this is something I never used to think of. I would shoot first, ask a question later. It was just, war is on. But now I really stop and I think, this person that I'm about to get into a conflict with, do I need them in the future? Is this a bridge that will be burnt that I need to cross over again? Is it someone that you're going to have to just play the PC political bullshit with because, it's a colleague, or it's someone I think that just is necessary in your future, or you're going to have a lot of contact with, that if you get into it, is that going to make your life harder? And is that going to stop you from getting certain opportunities? Because, back in the day, I would never really considered that. It would just be like, let's burn the bridge, let's burn the bridge because it's the principle. But now I really think of, okay, for example, if something happened with the teacher at school that I didn't agree with, I don't go into it guns blazing, because I think I need her to like me. I need her to be on my side. And if I just go in and be an absolute see you next Tuesday because of the principle and just blow that ship out of the water, that's actually not going to help me or my daughter in the long run, even though it's not my daughter or my child that would be causing the fight. Every human has a bias. It would lay a little seed of doubt, of bias, that they probably wouldn't even realize that they were doing, but they would not get as good treatment. So why am I going to go in there and slaughter someone, when I really need them on my side? So I think that is actually a really valuable skill, to identify and just take a pause and be like, okay, do I need this person on my side? And that doesn't mean that you can't enforce your beliefs or you can't speak your mind. I call it like a little compliment sandwich. So you start writing or even talking, you start out complimenting, you put the meat in, like you put your point in, but then you end nicely, it's just more digestible and it works every time, I'm telling you, because I really think that, I actually don't view someone as just like a completely bad person. I can think of maybe 2 people in my life that I can only say that about. But in general, people make mistakes, and give them the benefit of the doubt and compliment them on their strengths, and then just say it in a way that, hey, blah, 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 and then say, but I understand that blah, blah, blah. I swear to God, it works every time. But also, another thing I think of is, what am I trying to achieve? If it's a battle or a fight for me, I think, okay, what is my end goal? What do I want out of this? Is it just because I'm fired up and I just want to slap that person around verbally and just get that out, Or is there some kind of long-term goal? So if I think that there's a long-term goal of, I want to make peace with this person because I need them on my side, I'm not going to go and slap the bitch around verbally, because that's going to ruin my end goal. When you can master the emotional regulation part of this and you can pause and you can think of all these things, it really can make things so much more strategic and so much more peaceful in your life, because I know that we always seem to have a lot of drama as ADHD people. And I think, well, I know in my case, it always boils down to the emotional dysregulation and being fiery and fighting back and rah rah. But now when I'm in a place of I choose the right fight, the right fit, it's cut down so much. But even when I do kind of get into, let's say, a stoush, it doesn't actually affect me or enrage me as it used to. I think I can look at all sides of the coin, and I give people the benefit of the doubt. I know that there are certain personalities in the world, though, that cannot be reformed and cannot be met on the same playing field. That is a different story. But most people generally are not bad people, and they've got flaws. And, if you go on attacking and you don't say anything nice and you don't appreciate any of their strengths, well, like, anyone gets defensive. I have this thing now that I invented. It might be a term, but I really have this thing now where I call it the Jesus method, or like, I'm just going to Jesus them. And this isn't being offensive to religious people. Why do I even need to say that? But I call it the Jesus method because I've had so many times where someone has really done me dirty, and I used to be like say every bad thing under the sun. Like, I'm going to bring out all your insecurities, fuck you, burn it to the ground. But then I realized that winds me up, takes up a lot of energy. I don't like to be in a hateful, negative space because I think that actually brings on more crap into your life. But what I like to do, and which I feel like I've mastered, is that if someone has really done me wrong, done me plainly, obviously wrong, and, instead of attacking them, what I've found is the best thing to do is I just think, what would Jesus do? And I just think they would just show love and compassion and thank you. And the best part about that is when someone has done you so wrong and they know that they have, because they will avoid you, and they know that they have, and there's no way to explain it. To get a message acknowledging, yes, you've really hurt me, and you have, but I actually wanted to say thank you because you've just made me that much more resilient, or whatever, right? And I've done that on a couple of occasions, and you leave the situation feeling so much better about yourself. You don't actually feel like, oh, that was a bit too far. Like, I probably shouldn't have brought that part into it. And I just flip the role and I think of, if that was me and I had done something so horrendous to a person, but I got a message back just saying, I always love you, or I love you, or, you're in a fantastic mother or partner or whatever. Style of how I communicate with people that have burnt me, that know that they've burnt me, has completely changed. I used to be so aggressive. I used to bring out every insecurity, just to really go for the throat. But ever since I started just processing it first before I react, and then also saying thank you for teaching me this. I hope that you can see in yourself what I thought I saw in you, or something along those lines. And I really genuinely mean it when I come to them in that space. And I just put myself in their shoes, because it's so much easier to dig into the narrative of like, I didn't do anything wrong, rah, rah. But if someone treats you with such grace and such calm and such peace, even though you've done them dirty, well, that would fucking murder my soul. I don't know about you, but that would really murder me. It's actually a more effective way, It's easier to hate people and to dig down on your narrative of why you hate them when they turn nasty. But if they never turn nasty and if they still remain loving and graceful and calm, just kind of hits a bit diff, doesn't it? Just wrapping this up. Sorry, this has been a bit up and down because kids, but I just wanted to share it because that's kind of the space that I've been in, and that's a new thing that I've learned, and that is mastering the emotional regulation and choosing my fight. It's not saying I'm weak and I'm not going to fight. I fight harder than anyone. But is it going to work for me, really? Is it going to work on my schedule? Is it going to work in the long run? Just make it work for you a bit more, because I know that we can just dive down a rabbit hole, at the drop of a hat. We really can. And it's all about the regulating the emotions. And, I'm not saying that it makes it go away, but I think doing it this way, you still get to release it. I'm not saying suppress it. I think suppressing emotions and suppressing your opinions is actually worse. But I mean, it's just about delivering it in a different way, more strategic, because at the end of the day, it works out better for your peace and your peace of mind and your life. And then you'll have a little bit more time to do the stuff that we still haven't done. Do you know what I'm saying? So anyway, I just want to wrap this up. I hope that you could get some tips. Honestly, I am a work in progress. I always am. But this has been a major, major turning point for me recently, where I actually don't recognize myself. And it's definitely a skill that I feel like I've really mastered. And, events come up more and more and more. And I feel I get better and better and better at responding and dealing with them. I was just this unregulated, emotional, fiery machine gun. There would be collateral. It didn't matter. Now I kind of am like, I'm just a really calm, regulated, precise sniper. There always has to be a metaphor with these things. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Hope that you got some value out of this. Everything that I go through, all I like to do is just process it and share it, because I live the life. I really do. I get the life. I know the life. And we're not going to do to-do lists, but I know that emotional regulation is a huge problem. It always will be. It's always going to be a battle, especially for me. I know this. I've accepted it. But if I can just pass on some things that can help you, that I've learned along the way, the hard way, and just not wrapping yourself up in every injustice that fires you up, because they do. Because at the end of the day, I think the best thing to do is just choose your fight wisely and fight it well.